Hello everyone. Today is a very special interview. Today is an interview with Dr. Christina Rahm, one of the most famous ladies during COVID and afterwards. But she's not here. It's only me. The interview is playing right after my short introduction. Why? She knows much more than you can imagine. She's expert in science where you would think it's science fiction. She comes from a little farm, a regular girl there, and went into the biotechnology, pharmaceutical management, nutrition, has a Master of Science, PhD in psychology, and lots of other titles. She was in Harvard as one of 19 people where it was about biohacking a human body and really understanding. She's expert in cloning, she's expert in graphene oxide, and in so many science fiction stuff, who is not science fiction, it's science. And when I wrote her the questions, the compliance part of the company said, ooh, this gets very tricky, what you ask here, Michael. And then they actually made it in the safe way. Her husband, Clayton Thomas, asked her the questions the way that it's safe to answer. And that's why he's doing the interview afterwards with questions I've sent, and they just changed it a little to make it a little safer for them to answer. And I tell you, it's going to be very, 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 very interesting, and even more. Enjoy it and take it really serious. What Dr. Rahm is telling all of us, from the technical side and from the personal side, from the spiritual side, it can change our life. Thank you that you're here. Look at it and share what she has to give to all of us. It's a gift. Thank you, Dr. Rahm. Thank you, Clayton Thomas. Thank you, Ruth, for this really helpful, blessed information you give us in this interview. Thank you very much.
Let's dive into some stuff. There's a lot of people that are asking questions about the last 4 years and what's gone on, from a bioscience engineering standpoint. And people think that there's nanobots and, there's zombies and, all these different things in different circles of conversation. So this is going to be one of these interesting conversations we get to dive into because you have an innate understanding of how science can blend into science fiction.
Yeah.
And we can dive through some of these things. So,
well, I would even say that there's some things I've been exposed to scientifically that a lot of people wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Because they would think it was science fiction, but it's reality. So that is true. But there's some stuff I see that people talk about that they say that it is a reality that I think is completely inaccurate, just to be honest.
So let's hit on a couple of these things. So graphene. How long has graphene been used in the pharmaceutical industry, and what has it been used for?
Well, let's be honest. Graphene has been used all over the place by scientists for a lot of different technology, whether it is to travel, to look at time travel, to look at string theory, to look at different ways we can travel through the black hole to get to another universe. It's been used for hydrogen, oil, gas. There's different ways of basically transferring energy, right?
Okay, because it's magnetic.
Right.
Right. So you've got little nanoparticles, and people are like, oh my God, there was nanoparticles in vaccines. So how long has that been going on?
Well,
time.
This topic about nanoparticles, nanobiotechnology has been around for a long time, and recently it's become, a
buzzword.
Well, it's something that you can take in school. Like I got my graduate certification in it from Harvard.
Yeah, there's only 19 people that did that program, and then they shut it down because no one else could do it.
Well, I would say that it's a really hard, if you really dig into your graduate level, your PhD, even your undergrad, to study nanotechnology, you have to really understand science. You have to understand engineering, which is a part of science. And I would say your whole STEM, so your science, technology, engineering, and math are all tied together, right? So I'm not scared about graphene, but the problem is with graphene that when it goes into the body, it's like everything. Yeah, it can be a tool, whether you're using it for a vaccine or a delivery system. It can be a tool that's very helpful to people, but it has side effects that can also hurt people. So I hate it when people make this topic about graphene, that everything that is utilized in a vaccine is horrible. I don't agree with it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think vaccines have saved people's lives. I think there are some vaccines that should never have been released because there are things that are used that I don't agree with personally. But I also do understand that, and I think most people need to understand, when you look at helping a world population, you have to weigh both sides of it. And I think it's really hard because social media and the media, when it came to the pandemic, when it came to everything, you had people completely against the vaccine and thinking it was killing everyone. And then you had people that were for the vaccine and felt like if you weren't vaccinated, you were going to die. And the truth is vaccines came into play because at the time we didn't have all of the antibiotics and all the antifungals and all the things that could help people if they got sick. And I'll use smallpox as an example. But I'll say this, the problem is the more vaccines you have and the more delivery mechanisms you have attached to that, which whether it's a aluminum or,
or thimerosal or mercury,
right,
whatever they want to change the name to.
Well, Clay, that's insinuating that a pharmaceutical industry is trying to kill everyone, and I don't.
Which they're not.
No,
we can both agree on that.
Yeah.
Because what's funny to me is people say, "Oh, pharma's evil now," and I grew up around the pharmaceutical industry. So you spent 20 years in it. I spent 45 years in and around it in different aspects.
Yes.
But people want to talk about how amazing ivermectin is, and who created ivermectin? Merck.
Well, right. And I have to say this. So here's the thing. You're weighing what's the best for a huge population. And the truth is you'd reach herd immunity without a vaccination at about the same time. But the problem is if you don't have the pharmaceutical treatments or the natural treatments to help people that get that virus, whether it's measles or mumps, I can't talk, sorry, or whether it's COVID-19, just pick a topic, right? Some areas, some people need an antibiotic or an antifungal or they need medication because the virus will attach to different parts of their body. So I understood why they released the vaccine that they did. I also understood why people were extremely upset. My opinion was that I would have preferred they not release it. The delivery mechanism that was used by most of the pharmaceutical companies is a great delivery mechanism from an efficacious perspective. And what I mean by that is it is a delivery system which will help the body not get that particular mutation of that virus. But the problem is a virus mutates very quickly. And so that vaccine is out of place and you need to have constant boosters, number one. And number two, the issue that I have with it is that there were not long-term side effect studies. So you didn't know what long-term would happen or what would happen with that vaccine along with the other 13 vaccines that people are giving their kids. So when you combine all of this, because the truth is these heavy metals, and I'm just going to say this to you because I'd like to boil it down so it's not just these different types of heavy metals, microplastics, microfiber that are now all around us and we know now are in our bloodstream. We don't just get from a vaccine, we also get it from eating fish. Or eating animals that have mycotoxins in them.
Plants.
Or plants. We know now they're everywhere, right? Because our land, air, and water have been impacted so much by technology, whether it's GMOs or nuclear waste or pollution or heavy metals, that it's impacted our entire system, including our nervous system. And it's affecting how we think and how we believe. And it's also affecting how we feel. So you have so much depression and anxiety. And then what happens is, once you are trying to suppress one virus, a lot of times you'll get another one, or you'll also have an autoimmune disorder. So graphene, everyone wants to dig into graphene. And for me, I've done a lot of different products which are aimed at trying to get rid of the heavy metals and the pollution in the body, clean the body out, clean the pineal gland, the whole system out. That's been my goal, is to create natural products that can do that. And I don't ever claim to cure a virus or to cure heavy metals throughout the world and people or in the land, air, and water. I do have patents that say that I am one of the inventors that has been able to do that. However, I believe it's God's natural ability to have scientists help. So while we have this graphene, which scientists have used, I want to make sure you know, to do some really great things, that same thing has been used to do some really negative things that have impacted society. So I'm not for graphene being used in a vaccine. I'm not for graphene being used in healthcare products, for example. But I also understand that it's a technology that was used in the beginning. I don't believe that it came into play to try to destroy humanity. I just think it's something that's been used for a long, long time that now, thankfully, it's in our, we have it in front of us and we can understand it a little bit. But you've got a lot of people, honestly, that are not scientists, that are staying on their phones and they're researching things, and there's these, and they're going from one level, I'm just telling you, to a completely other level where they think that everyone here is out to kill us. And somebody said to me that I'm a globalist, and I'm not a globalist. I believe in humanity.
We are globalists in the fact that we're humanitarians and the fact that everybody needs to work, but we're not on the side of like, oh, we got to kill off everybody and we want to take over. And
I would like to talk for myself because I'm not on that side. I don't mean that rudely. I'm not on that side at all.
Exactly.
Like, I'm for helping people. So whether the issue that happened with vaccines and pharmaceuticals is they should be used for, in my opinion, for acute cases and emergencies and not for long-term care of people. There are some pharmaceuticals that need to be used for long-term care, but what people really need to do is go back and really get to their roots and take out the toxins in their bodies and support their bodies so that their bodies can honestly live as long and healthy and well as possible. There actually needs to be this other category. So you've got pharmaceuticals, you've got nutraceuticals, and I feel like we need to have longevity. And I know you hate the word wellness, but
I hate that term.
That's fine. I love it. But longevity and wellness or greatness, you like to use the word great. I think that there needs to be this other topic, because people that want to live a long life and a happy life need to understand that they do have to get rid of the things in our environment that are bad for us. And instead, this has turned into a topic, though, where everyone's acting like graphene was put into place and we're all zombies. And I will say, I know why they say it, because when you have certain types of things like graphene or heavy metals in your body, when you have even a virus that's overtaking the body, right, your fungus proliferates and grows, which means the parasites proliferate and grow. And then not just that, there's a mutation in the fungal environment and in the parasitic environment, because people don't stop and think about this, but I want everyone to think about this. When a virus mutates, everyone needs to understand everything can mutate. Human beings can change. Like, I think there's some human beings that have been exposed to these microplastics. I know. Microplastics, microfibers, heavy metals in their body. We all have. Some of us more than others, but a lot of our bodies, and I do believe this is God and His brilliance, will evolve so we can accept some of that. We kind of are made to, we don't need to be bombed by it, right? Mm-hmm. Which is why we have this tipping point right now, where I do feel like, I don't know if it's governments or if it's just major money, but we have been almost bombed as humanity with just one issue after another, right? And it's hit this level, which is a tipping point. But I think that I don't think that graphene causes someone to be a zombie. I do believe that if you have certain heavy metals like that in your body, and you have certain nanobots and different things in your body, it can impact the way you think, feel, and your health.
Because we have the issue of understanding that we are a biological antenna, right? So we are emitting frequencies as well as receiving frequencies. So we are this quantum biological computer that is constantly communicating internally. Every cell is communicating, right? But then our cells are also communicating right now, which I like how they talk.
Yeah.
But
I don't know that I would say we're an antenna. I think we're a energetic, we are the biggest energetic source there is, but I don't think we are. I mean, let me use this as an example. I don't think you're an antenna, for example, to change everything that's going on in this room. I think that we are energy.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Like, yep. We are. I mean, if you really look at the definition of what we are and you really dig into it, we are energy. That's what we're composed
So
of.
with that being the case, then the physical aspect of what's being expressed is highly adaptive to the environment. Sometimes it will adapt over time to adjust, to a continual exposure of something. But you can also have an acute or a chronic impact. Some can be positive over time, some can be negative.
Yeah, well, we know scientifically that also your spiritual, emotional, or mental, it depends on which scientist you're dealing with, because a lot of scientists that do what I do not believe in a higher presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do. But most scientists that do what I do, I would say a lot don't. I definitely do. And I think that spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, we can energetically change things that are not considered just physical. Like physical is one component of us. Like you don't capture a soul or spirit physically, right?
Yep.
That's an energetic source that's inside of us that we know now that when someone dies, it actually can go into the room. That soul or spirit or that energy is in the room. We don't know where it goes after that, but we've been able to track it. And energetically, we can track to what someone was feeling when they were 2 years old, subconsciously what they thought and what they felt. So I understand you saying an antenna. I understand people thinking that if they're exposed to graphene and different things that it's killing a species. But I also want to tell people we have natural things that we can take. We have natural things we can do. It's not the end of the world. I do not like the crisis mentality. I want people to understand that if there's a problem in this world, then all we have to do is look around for the solution. And I think one of the things I love about your brand, and I know I worked on the products and that I'm part of the whole movement that you've conducted and that everyone's conducting around the Root brands. But I think one thing that's amazing is people understanding that we have control in our hands where we can use natural products, like Clean Slate, Restore, and Zero In that really help our bodies assist in being as well and great and living as long as possible. You can't directly relate, and I'm just going to say this, you can't say that if someone took a vaccine, they can't live to be 130. You also can't say if someone takes Clean Slate, they're definitely going to live to be 130, because there's so many different factors that go on in. And really what people need to learn is that we are here to take care of our bodies. We all have different choices. None of us are perfect. So people, for example, that are vegan, I understand you're being vegan because I love animals and I don't love killing or hurting anything. But I do want people to know from a health perspective, the plants and the vitamins and the minerals can be as bad for you as meat unless they're made and prepared the right way, which is why it's so important, the packaging, the sourcing, the way the products are made at Root.
But it's also an engineering standpoint, as like you're talking about from STEM, being a bioscience engineer, understanding that if we understand intelligent design, as you hit on, that we were created and that everything around us was created and there was intelligent design in the creation. I don't think anyone can argue that when they actually understand quantum physics and they understand real science, right? You can't argue that. Right, genetically, that answers everything. I
mean, you can argue it because there's going to always be people that are going to argue it.
But the evidence shows that there was intelligent design, and what we've seen throughout history, from different cultures, is where there's a problem, nature's already provided a solution. That there's always this way to create balance, and having the ability to use nature and knowing that something is available just because it's in its raw form doesn't mean that it's capable of being used, say for our benefit. It needs to be adapted, or it's like cooking, right? You're not going to take an orange and just throw an orange in a pot, right? You might have to peel it. You might use the juice. You might use the rind for something, but it's a matter of preparation. And because of your unique, background and unique understanding, you've been able to take nature, some of the most powerful components that nature provides, and have an understanding of how to stack them, how to apply them, how to source the right ingredients. So you've put together solutions that were intended to address where we are currently, right? In this human experience, and addressing the key components to the body. So we hit on the graphene aspect, which also includes the heavy metals and the environmental toxins. And that's foundational in training the disruption.
I'm like, why are people still talking about graphing so much?
It's one piece, and I think it's the one hard part for people is they don't want to look at the big picture. They can only get stuck on one thing. We see that in marketing, where people will talk about one specific subject and just try to focus on it, and in that fear approach, or thinking that people are just dumb and they can't understand a complex conversation enough, or the person that's doing it doesn't understand the full conversation. So I want to dive into
because
this.
There's graphing spheres, there's graphing bytes, there's all different kinds. That's why this is such a bigger topic.
It's huge, but when we look, so if we just throw graphene in with heavy metals and mercury, lead, aluminum, cesium, strontium, gadolinium, all arsenic, all these other environmental toxins for what they are and how disruptive they are, but it creates a cascade, and you hit on the other two that are big topics, and I don't think anyone else has put them together in conversation and understanding the mechanisms behind them like you have, because none of them have experience in these areas. And it's the one thing that I have the benefit of being around you constantly and being able to talk about. So we have got the metals. Fungus. Is fungus a big problem? Because you've been talking about it for a decade.
Well, fungus has always been a big problem. I haven't talked about it for a decade. I started studying I was 29 years old, 28, 29, different types of fungus. And I was in autopsies where they would cut someone open and there was just mushrooms, in the brain, or fungus everywhere. In a morgue, if you go in the morgue, most people think people died from a bacterial or virus. The truth is, what happens is the person gets a bacteria or a virus, but then fungus is like, wow, I've got this opportunity now to take over this whole body.
Because your immune system becomes suppressed.
Yeah, and then if there's any parasites, which I'm just going to tell, this is something we have not addressed in the United States like we should. Parasites are everywhere, and they went rampant during COVID. I wasn't worried about COVID. I'm like, it's a virus. We're going to get through this as humanity. I was worried about the fungus and the bacteria, and that's where I think the zombie thing comes in, because we know that zombies are basically a fungus, right? That is growing. There's the show
The Last of Us.
Which I said, gosh, this is what I've been talking about for years. But yeah, I was concerned when the pandemic took place, because I knew there would be mutations of fungus that we couldn't address. So people don't know this, but it's really hard to get rid of fungus. And so it's kind of something, like I tell people, if you're going to take an antibiotic, you should be taking an antifungal. And so the products I worked on, they are an instant solution to fungus, and we can't claim we're curing fungus, but I use different ingredients that have properties that are known to basically
have antifungal properties.
Right, and antiparasitic.
Every single product that you've made, and they're all designed to work synergistically together, which I think is one thing that people don't pay attention to or understand. Best thing you do is take all of them, because they're all designed to work together.
They're stacking, but you can also alternate, because the problem with any kind of fungus, bacteria, virus, it's smart, right? So It's going to try to outsmart the system. So bacteria is a little different, and that's why when you take an antibiotic, it has to be for 7 or 14 days or it doesn't work, because it's a different kind of pattern that bacteria follows versus what a virus or fungus.
When you say bacteria, that includes parasites.
No, bacteria is like you have a staph infection or a strep infection. I mean, there's anaerobic bacteria. There's different types of bacteria. And there's different classifications. So, for example, if it's anaerobic bacteria, that can't, if oxygen is there, that bacteria will die. So anaerobic bacteria is really hard for you to get. If you get it, and you do get it, it will go into your body and attach only to the necrosis or the dead parts of your body. So let's say you have a part of your body that's dying or that's sick, it will attach there because there's no oxygen, right? So every bacteria is kind of specific to that. It's a much longer story, but it's all classified differently.
So you got fungus, you got bacteria, you got viruses, you got parasites. And parasites.
Mm-hmm. Those are your main.
And those are constantly
and they're all different.
And they're all different.
But they all play off of each other.
And it's a matter of giving your body the tools it needs to maintain homeostasis.
Right. So when you're born, you have a certain amount of different things in your body.
Yeah.
But the problem is if that gets off base, so if the bacteria takes over or the fungus, and there's certain types of bacteria, like I just explained, if you get it, it's bad, right? And if you told me, well, I have this type of bacteria, I'm like, you've got to go to the hospital. That's when people tell me they don't believe in pharmaceuticals and they don't believe in going to the hospital. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. If there's certain things that right now we don't have every solution to naturally. And they have taken because people don't realize this, but pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, they're taking something natural and they're using a synthetic to make it deliver into a different way. With the products, for example, that I've worked on, I feel like for humanity, I'm not using synthetics. I'm using natural things because the goal is to support people every day so that their bodies keep getting healthier and healthier. That's my goal, is that people are going to die, right?
It happens. I mean, that's part of the deal. Right?
But if you can live the best, healthiest, happiest life ever, has always been my goal. And that's why I think the controversy around me, I kind of always try to get rid of it, because I just go back to this inner peace that I have of we're trying to make our lives better because we're trying to help other people do it too. We can't fix everything for everyone, but we can try to continuously make our lives better. So and that's what true science is.
Yeah. And so the goal isn't then worrying about what's been done or what's been put in the environment. The goal, the purpose, the primary focus is in dealing with taking care of yourself and what you can do to become the best version of yourself.
Right, cleaning out your body and supporting your body. And that's why, I say to people, pick your battles. Like, pick your battles. There's only so much time in your life. There's only so many days. So I picked my battle when I was probably around 5. I decided my battle was to love and to try to do things to help people. And so the controversy, I kind of just I don't want to be a part of that. I do understand people are angry. I understand that they're mad. I understand that it's a catastrophe in so many areas when it comes to health and the economy and everything else. But if you keep going back to the center, which is trying to live your best life possible and help others do it too, there you have the solution. And so I think where I really resonate with the root community is to clean out the body and support the body naturally. And yes, I use scientific measures, but they're natural to do that.
And you're using different components of nature to actually create the delivery mechanisms as well as the solution itself.
I am. And there's people, and I see people make comments that they don't agree with which they don't ever know exactly how I make products because they're proprietary. But I do only things that I would want my children to take or I would take. I don't do anything. Because we do. I don't do anything that would be harmful to a human being in any way. But from my perspective, I can't make everyone happy, and I'm not going to join in the debate of constantly fighting either. I want people to be educated, but more than anything, I think we are where we are. Let's talk about this. We are where we are, right? So spending every part of our day debating on why we're here, I want to know who that's going to help. And if people think they're coming together because it's going to change things, even me, I travel throughout the world and I do talks and I meet with presidents and prime ministers and sheikhs on how we can have a better world, how we can be healthier, how we can help humanity. I'm not perfect, but that's still my focus, but at least it's a positive focus. And so I think that's where I really want people to go back to is the harmony and the peace and the love and trying to do what's right for our body, which means cleaning it out. This is very simple to me. Cleaning our bodies out, supporting our bodies, not claiming we're curing anything, but trying to give people their right to be here, which I believe God gives each of us a right and gives each of us a responsibility to live the best life possible and to do the best things possible without living in fear or worry or constant anger, because those things don't help us. You got to let that go. And it's just me speaking as a human being.
So,
I think that's where sometimes people don't agree with me because they want me to be extremely angry. And my thing is that wouldn't help everyone if I was extremely angry.
My favorite author wrote something in her first book, and I want you to give me your take on this because it's the most insightful quote I've ever seen from an author. That corresponds to this, right?
Yeah.
Because it gets down to the understanding that we're all connected, but the only thing that you really should focus on is not all the noise, not all the bullshit going on around you, but the one thing that is you, which is you, that we are each this imperfect piece to a perfect puzzle.
Right. And I've been told that because I have the personality I have, I've been told many times it doesn't sell because I don't have anger. I don't constantly fight, and people for whatever reason, love controversy. People love being angry. They love fighting. I personally, that's not my purpose. So I'm living my purpose. Your purpose may be to cause that controversy so people can think, right? But in the end, I just hope everyone understands science is not perfection, because I believe there's only perfection in God. Science are men and women trying to help us really achieve a longer and better life. Again, I want to say this because scientists are dedicated to going to Mars, to going to the moon, to improving hydrogen, oil and gas, and I've worked on all those projects. I've worked on healthcare projects, oil and gas. I've worked on things with time travel. I've worked on all that. So they're dedicated to that improvement, but scientists are human. So along the way, they make mistakes. So I've been very careful with everything that has been launched through your company to make sure that I'm focused on really doing the best for humanity naturally, knowing we can stack things and improve things and continue to grow them. But I really do feel like it's an answer to humanity without making a claim. Here's a piece of someone that truly made these products to help the world that doesn't need, she doesn't want to be part of the controversy. She wants to be part of the peace and the hope of it. And that's hopefully the message. That's going to make a lot of people angry that are watching this, because they want me to be angry and they want me to spread a message of the end of the world. And the truth is, no one knows what day the end of the world ends until it's over. So we got to live each day to the fullest, because we have no idea when it's ending.
Because we're given a test. We're given free will, right? So we literally are at this point of an ascension event and an extinction event. And it's our choice on how we want to play the game. Because if you want to worry about the environment and cause problems, you're probably not going to be there.
I would argue with you, from the day everyone's born, they're in that same situation.
And that's the point.
They're either going to die or they're going to live.
Yes.
I mean, that's
you choose.
You know what I mean? For like thousands of years, that's been the case.
Right.
So I do think we're at a pivotal point right now where we are changing as humanity, and we have to adjust and get used to it. And I think some of the changes that are in front of us, I'm not happy with and I don't approve of. But I still have to understand, because our job is to use the pieces we have to make this world better. And that's what we're in the process of doing. So I think it's the end of the interview, because I pretty much said how I feel. And everyone's trying to put me in this box to talk about what they want me to say. But you know, I'm at the point in my life where really the goal is to say what I believe 100%, and to do the right thing.
You have a master's in science, a couple
of
PhDs.
That matters, but really it matters what kind. In the end of the day, and that's what I think my point is about scientists, and about presidents, and about people and politicians and people that own companies. At the end of the day, we all have gifts, and we use those gifts hopefully to do the best we can. But at the end of the day, honestly, Clayton, and I mean this, at the end of the day, I have to hold myself accountable to live the best life possible. Those degrees were a lot of work for me, but they don't make me a better human. And I really feel like I need to do a call of action that people are just better humans. And they use products like the ones that I produced for you, for Root, to help them be that person so that they can have this peaceful life. And so many times people are stuck in, I want you to believe how I believe. And my whole thing is, you can believe how you believe. You can believe how you believe. That's not my job to judge either. My job is to just do the best scientific work possible. So yes, I did have a master's degree in science. Yes, I have multiple PhDs and EDD and postdocs and stuff like that. And those help me, as well as meeting people like you. I'm being really honest, that are extremely smart, meeting other scientists and other people in powerful positions throughout the world, as well as people that were servants or people that were, and when I say that, I mean serving and doing work that's not on a powerful position. They are equally important, and I've equally learned from them. And that's where I feel that we've got to continue to work as a society. I mean, we need to understand that we all have a piece to bring to the table and solutions. And so even though graphene is not positive, and I wish we didn't use it in technology, it has been. So we are where we are, and we can survive where we are, and we can make our lives even better by using great products.